Joining us now is Victor Joecks from Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Yeah.
Victor does a great job, and Victor's analyzing what's happening in Nevada. It can be very confusing. Victor, welcome to the program. For our national audience, please explain what is currently happening on the ground in Nevada.
Well, Nevada, like a lot of places, there's some conflicting signals. So historically, what's happened in Nevada is that Democrats have jumped out to a big lead. We have 2 weeks of early voting here. We also have universal mail voting, then obviously election day voting. So historically, what's happened is Democrats have jumped out to a big lead, especially in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is. About 70% of the voters are here. And what Democrats like to do is basically run up the score in Clark County. And sometimes they have an 80 to 100,000 voter advantage. And there's just not enough votes left in the state to overcome that. And so what we saw this year, which was really encouraging for Trump and other Republicans, is that the Clark County voter edge, obviously we don't know how nonpartisans or minor party voters are voting. The voter edge for Democrats in Clark County was about 18,000 going into Election Day. And so if you go to 4 years ago, what Democrats had was around a 45,000 voter edge in Nevada. And this year it was about 42,000 voter edge for Republicans, which is just, I mean, it's an almost 90,000 voter swing in a state that that Biden won by less than 34,000 votes. So you're going into Election Day with Republicans in the lead. Again, that's unusual. Usually that doesn't happen. And the other thing that usually happens is Republicans do very well on Election Day. They outperform Democrats, but we're also seeing something a little bit different this time, where Democrats are seeing a significant boost in turnout on Election Day. Right before I came on the air here, I actually got some numbers, so you have to apologize. I'm looking down and doing this in real time, but compared to 4 years ago, Democrats are up 7,500 voters in Clark County. That's the Democrat stronghold. They went from 5,700 voters 4 years ago, voting by 10 o'clock Election Day in person, to over 13,000. Republicans 4 years ago had a lead of about 6.2 thousand voters, and that was actually probably closer to 8. Just some of the data wasn't complete. This year, Republicans' voter lead at 10 a.m. Is 4,000 voters. And what we've actually seen more Republicans show up, but we've seen a greater number of Democrats show up than in past years. And so, obviously everyone wants to know how the election is going to go. I'd love to know how the election is going to go. Only God knows that. What we do know is there is a almost 90,000 voter swing compared to where we were 4 years ago going into Election Day. And so while it's, not what we expected with Democrats doing better on Election Day, they haven't yet produced the margins that they would need to really dig into that 90,000 voter swing that I've been talking about.
Andrew, you are Mr. Nevada. What questions do you have for Victor here?
Victor's Mr. Nevada, but I've been unfortunately out of state, exiled in communist California for a number of years. But Victor, I saw some tweets from you that were getting shared around. You were essentially analyzing the John Ralston prediction. He predicted that Nevada was going to go narrowly, I guess like 0.3 percentage point, less than a point, for Kamala Harris. And it sort of shocked everybody because we're all looking at the early vote numbers as well, which is essentially, as you said, about a 90 vote swing towards the Republicans, towards Trump. Break down what essentially you're seeing in his numbers. Do you take issue with any of his assumptions, any of his predictions? What can you tell us?
Well, to be a little cliche here for Las Vegas, basically Democrats are holding a 7 and a jack, and they need to draw an 8, 9, and a 10 for a straight, because that's what they need. They need to win Election Day. Historically, they have lost Election Day. It looks like that is possible. I don't think they're going to win it by major margins, but that's possible. And then they need basically an unprecedented amount of mail ballots still to come in. And one of the crazy things in Nevada that happens, and one of the reasons we're not going to have results probably for 3 days, is that all the ballots don't have to be in by Election Day. They can be mailed in, and then they can be received up to 4 days after the election. And further complicating it is that you can go to the polling place and drop off your mail ballot, and we won't know how many of those ballots there are until tomorrow. And so, basically Democrats need a huge surge in mail. So they need a huge surge in in-person Election Day voting. They need a huge surge in mail ballots. And even then, that's still not enough, right? They need rural Nevada. There's 15 counties in Nevada that are pretty sparsely populated, but they're very strong Trump counties. And if they vote strong, they really give Republicans just a major margin of victory.
So Victor, so we talk so much about Clark County. Let's go up to Washoe. What are you seeing numbers wise in Washoe? And by the way, are you hearing day of reports in Washoe? You're saying that Clark County Democrats are performing well, okay? But we apparently is, and do we still have the margin statewide, or are you just saying we still have about a 4,000 margin in Clark? Because we're gonna win day of, right? I mean, that's historically we win day of. So go up to Washoe, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So let me just clarify there. Republicans have a 43,000 voter lead. And right now, you would say that's around 47,000 voter lead in the state, with the looming mail drop-off ballots as kind of an unknown. So Washoe County 4 years ago, at this point, before Election Day, Democrats were up by about 400 votes. Currently, heading into Election Day, Republicans were up by, I want to say it was around 7,800 votes. So a pretty significant shift in Washoe. And what we've seen in the Washoe numbers, let me just do this on the fly. So far, Republicans have outvoted Democrats by about 1,000 people through 10 a.m. 4 years ago, it was 1,700. So you're seeing turnout go up for both parties. More Democrats are turning out proportionally than Republicans. Republicans still have a lead in Washoe. And so I expect that Republicans are going to do better in terms of voting than they did 4 years ago. And so just to circle back on kind of that last assumption, if you think Democrats are going to pull it out in Nevada, you also need nonpartisan voters to break for Democrats in a strong way. And, could it happen? Absolutely, it could happen. I don't know what everyone's voting. What I do know is that nationally, there have been all of these stories about how Kamala Harris is struggling to motivate young Black and Hispanic voters. And if you look at Las Vegas and to a lesser extent Washoe, who do Democrats need to turn out? Well, they've needed to turn out young Black and Hispanic voters. And if you look at those parts of the metro area, those are the parts where Democrats are missing votes. And so I still think that the simplest explanation for what's happening in Nevada is Kamala Harris couldn't motivate that set of voters that everyone's been talking about for months at this point. And it showed up here in Nevada, and Democrats' effort to churn out more voters, probably will save them some down ballot races, but overall, I still think Trump is the favorite in Nevada. Obviously, the ballots are yet to be counted.
Sorry, yeah, Charlie's deferring to me for the Nevada update here. Victor, the rurals, what was the turnout percentage-wise in the rurals, and compare that to what we're looking at now? I know it's a smaller chunk of the vote, but those are my people, and I know those are like 75-25, 80-20, votes right there for Trump.
The margins. And so what we saw 4 years ago is these rural Nevada counties, as you said, are small, but they're very, very strong Republican, 4-1, 5-1. And 4 years ago, they turned out 85+% of registered voters in many cases. And so, if you're looking at it, rural Nevada has outvoted Clark County heading into Election Day by 5 or 10 percentage points. And I anticipate that will continue, that those rural counties will have a lot of Trump and Sam Brown for U.S. Senate ballots. And they seem to be showing up. So I think they're on track to turn out above Clark County. I would anticipate Clark County getting between 70 to 75%, and rural Nevada getting between 80 to 85%. And that 10 percentage point turnout difference could make all the difference.